All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Rugby Muscle YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be reviewing and reacting to a rugby training motivation slash gym edition video, which is a cool video, but it gives some good perspective. Well, I believe it has. I've skimmed through it. It's going to give us a good perspective on how professional rugby players train and what you guys, as amateur players, can take from that and what you can also potentially dismiss. All right, so what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. I'm not sure if this is going to go up on the podcast because it is so video orientated. If we can get a video up on the Spotify, I know we can do that. But otherwise, I'm going to try and guide through the exercises that are in this video, guide through the purposes, guide through the overall thoughts I have here as it pertains to what professional players do and what you guys as amateur players should be doing. So if you're new here, welcome to the Rugby Muscle YouTube channel. I'm TJ, I'm the guy behind Rugby Muscle. Rugby Muscle is all about strength and conditioning, primarily for amateur rugby players. I said amateur rugby players. We do work with semi-professional, we have had previous times where we've worked with professional athletes. It's just a different kettle of fish to an extent, and there are still some lessons that we can definitely learn from professional athletes. But there are also things that I think are overrated, and the primary reason I wanted to do this video was because I wanted to sort of figure out a way to put out to the YouTube channel and to the Rugby Muscle verse why I don't necessarily think that copying professional athletes' programs is all it's hyped up to be. And the reason I think that that's an important message is basically because that's kind of what I used to do. When I was a young athlete, all I would do with my training would be to find what the next professional athlete does. Sometimes it was MMA fighters a lot of the time because their training was really hyped up to sort of show the authenticity of those guys, MMA fighters, as athletes, because this was a time when they were viewed as cage fighters, not necessarily athletes. So they publicized a lot of their gym training. Rugby, not so much, but the small clips I did find, I would Frankenstein myself a session out of all the stuff that I would find and continually adapt it. And the reality is that rather than learning the overriding principles and rather than sticking to a program that suited me, I just kept chopping and changing to what I saw the professionals did because I thought there was some sort of secret sauce there. And so as we get into this video, that's what the sort of overriding theme that I want you to see. All right, so without further ado, let's get into this video. I don't think you can hear the sound. I'm hoping not, because that would make it a little bit more awkward. So let's just make sure you can't. B Rugby is the channel. Very good channel, actually. So I'd suggest subscribing. This first drill, in fact, look, let's look at these first few drills. Medicine ball and Swiss ball. Okay, and then we're going into hypertrophy work. So let's go back to this Swiss ball grappling stuff. This is really good for grapple strength, but also with minimal amount of damage and impact and stuff. It's very soft, but it's also allowing you to find good positions. And if you get your position wrong with a Swiss ball, yeah, you're going to go flying. So this is a nice little in-gym exercise. Weighted hops and with a medicine ball, which is quite cool. And now we're looking at some solid hypertrophy work. I'm not sure what the purpose of the two guys being there is really about. You don't really need two fellas to spot you, especially if you're not going to failure. Just standard hypertrophy work there. And this is a cool machine right here. This is clearly some sort of scrum machine that is individualized to work on isometric, a little bit of concentric push into this isometric hold for the scrum. I really do like this because this is something that, it's specialized for rugby because you're putting the hands in more likely positions that you're going to put your hands in a scrum. But also, you could easily just do this and rig it up, and you wouldn't get quite the same hand positioning, but you could rig this up on a Smith machine or a squat rack, and you could just slide like a squat bar or just a barbell. If you put the safety bars onto the side, and you can sort of hold yourself in this position. In fact, it's one of my highest viewed videos on this channel. Rowing, guys getting after it, pushing a sled. Now we're looking at this is mostly a wrestling drill, but this is obviously, tackling is basically wrestling with someone that's running at you. And so this is helping them get into low positions. Some agility work here, some carrying work here. more sled stuff. So this is all funky stuff that has its time and a place, but it's not going to form the basis of the training. Same with this, really. This looks like it's Exeter Chiefs that headed to the sand to do some of their preseason by the beach. This is something where I want to put warning signs out, right? Because going to the beach is just a way to change the scenery for these fellas. I would have overread this back in the past and gone, oh my God, there must be some sort of magic about running in the sand. There is something about sprinting top end speed and being light on your feet to sprinting in the sand. But rarely is top end speed a concern for the vast majority of amateur rugby players. And if that, you don't need to specialize so far in that you need to run on sand. And in fact, when you're running on sand, you're learning bad mechanics, because the more force you're using to like push yourself forward, right? Which way is forward on this video? Yeah, this way. Push yourself forward. The more your foot actually gets displaced and just you lose your traction in the sand. And so you're not rewarded for putting maximum force into the ground or propelling yourself forward like you are on grass, which is where you play rugby. So I would not advocate doing basically anything on sand as far as it goes, as far as like running for rugby, unless you're just doing some zone 2 work where you're just wanting to keep low impact on your feet. Having said that, these lads either probably know that or just are having some fun on the beach, and that's also fine. Scrum work. More scrum work. Just finding the positions and just holding those positions. Something that you would notice with this stuff as well, with a lot of the scrum work, is that like these guys aren't needing to get stronger. Like they're not, I mean, they could work more in the gym, but this is where they need to express that strength. So they're like holding these positions is very much a specialized thing that these guys need to do, and it pays dividends in the scrum. High intensity conditioning, some lower back work, some sprints and changing the direction on the light gates. I guess they're testing here. I always like watching the All Blacks training because it's very much meat and potatoes. So there's guys doing cleans there and then guys doing the sled sprints. Arm bike. I'm not sure about the efficiency of that. Some deadlifts, some squats. More incline bench press. You're going to see a lot of incline bench press from professionals because it's a good upper body overall builder. It's one of the most comfortable ones you can do. You're not like if you're doing only incline bench, you're not going to miss out on lower chest or lower pec development like a lot of people think that you would have done. You're not going to miss out on, like, you don't need to do decline press is something that you would never have to do. And if you take someone that had done a bunch of decline press and just take it out and replace that with about 50% of those sets in inclines or flat benches, you would not notice a difference. Decline press is a big waste of time, and I see people do it all the time. It's such a waste. You can do all of your bench as an incline, and you would make 99% of your pec gains doing that, and it puts less strain on the elbow, put less strain on the shoulder, especially with dumbbells, which is why it's so popular for rugby, because your shoulders are taking a beating. Split squats. I think the bands there will help keep that balance. Ab work. So as we start to go through here, the more this video goes on, the less you're going to see, or the more you're going to notice that most of this stuff is just meat and potatoes work. So they're doing a lot of the strength stuff to get stronger, and then they're doing a lot of like the basic skill work to work on their skills, right? So here they're working jackling. Here they're working the clean out. So we're looking at on-field stuff now. Lots of on-field stuff, driving through the tackles. So all this stuff is like, you don't need to work this stuff in the gym. This is individual skill stuff. And this individual skill stuff is probably more missing in amateur players than the gym is with amateur players, right? Because you as amateurs, you show up to your 2 sessions a week during the season and during pre-season, and you let the coach take care of all of it. And that's kind of it, when I was playing semi-professional, occasionally we would have guys come out, an hour early, and they would do some extra fitness stuff. I know the scrum halves and the fly halves would do kicking, or they would do extra passing. There were some speedsters on the wing, coincidentally, that did speed work before training. And this is all opportunity for you as players to do so, but it's something that is definitely underappreciated because it's not sexy. None of this work is sexy, More dumbbell upper body work. And again, as you can see, all this, the vast majority of this strength work, like this is all basic stuff. There's nothing overly fancy that you wouldn't see, that would look out of place in any gym, across wherever you live. And then the skill stuff is separate, and they're not really trying to combine the two. The grapple stuff helps also, obviously, with the contact stuff, but we've got, basic work, squats, split squats, etc. That's the closest we've come, right? This one arm press here. That's the closest we've come to something fancy as far as like hypertrophy and strength work goes, is that one arm dumbbell bench, and that just gets the core a little bit involved because you're working some level of rotation. Hip thrusts, pull downs, like meat and potato stuff, good old bicep curls, we're working on the skier, rows, shoulders, like nothing really fancy at all. There's core work, and then again we're going back, like it's just a mix. And this is how a lot of not including, this is probably a good pre-season, or even could potentially be an off-season like training protocol for, it wouldn't be an off-season training protocol for professionals, but it would be like the easier stuff when we're not looking at team runs or tactical work. This is what it is, just real, like spending your time working on your skills when you're working on your skills, and then working on your strength when you're working on your strength, and working on your conditioning when you're working on your conditioning. You're not really trying to combine these things. They're just putting in that work, Basic line out stuff. We're looking at, this is something that's underrated, and it's something that probably isn't seen as much in the gym, in normal gyms, is if we go back here, is like your lateral core work. This is something, lateral and rotational core work is going to be underrated for most people. Most people don't challenge their stuff for doing this, and this is something that's like very specific to like actual athleticism. It doesn't really provide any aesthetic benefits as such, but it can give you a huge benefit when you're trying to work in contact situations, when you're trying to work change of direction, when you're trying to throw balls around. This sort of stuff is all impacted by how you can manipulate your torso, and if you can and that includes in and around your hips as well. So if you can be strong laterally through this stuff, that's going to give you a big benefit. Again, back to normal, simple skill work, passing. That tackle would be a red card these days, so that shouldn't have been included. It'd be rugby, you shouldn't have included that one. And then cleans, even those cleans are technically pretty poor, but and that's why they don't actually finish these cleans. They're just worried about this extension here with these cleans. They're just trying to work explosion. That's why I don't really bother with them, other than a snatch, where the intent is everything. More scrum work. Oh, that's definitely an illegal ruck. More meat and potatoes strength work. More meat and potatoes passing work. So you can see there, like, and this is where I'm going to bring up my first point about watching professionals training is, when I said about how I used to glean these videos and glean articles to see what the secret was for what professionals did, that's what I was looking for. I was looking for the secret. And the more you watch these videos, the more you realize, or the more you get an insight into professionals training and the professional athletes, like physique and everything like that. There is no secrets. They're just doing your normal basic meat and potatoes. I keep saying meat and potatoes because I can't think of another phrase, but your basic, in Portuguese we would say arroz e feijão, right? Your beans and your rice, your basic stuff. And they're just already that talented, they're that gifted. It's not any extra work. They're just that much more talented, and they're able to utilize that talent and utilize the basics to help them be better professionals and better players on the pitch. But again, there's no secret here. I would have read way too much into that one guy doing the one-arm bench press and thought, that's the secret. One other thing you can see here, this is a good one. the bench row. So this bench is obviously significantly higher. You can see the two racks. If you can see my mouse, yeah, it's there. You can see how he's doing a row off of a high bench, and then you've got the two catches to rack the barbell here. This is really good because it allows you to do really heavy horizontal pulling whilst taking all the strain off your lower back. With a traditional bent over row, you're going to be isometrically holding this, and your posterior chain, particularly your lower back, is going to take a beating, and especially like when you go really heavy, and you're going to rely on your core to hold you in that position, which is a good thing, but also can hold you back if building upper back and mid back musculature is your priority. Now, if actually I find the chap that did it at the beginning here, I think it was here. Let's see if I can find it at the beginning. This is a more common solution because you're not going to find those benches. This is a great solution. Not the fella behind him waving. The solution is to use like an incline bench. I even like to prop up my knees on the seat of the incline bench, and then you can really get some heavy dumbbell rows with that. And you should be able to mimic the benefit that you have using this, the bench pull. Where is it? The bench row. There you go. Whilst just using dumbbells. This is some sprint drills where they're working on their posture. Explosive jumps. Again, you can always rely on New Zealand stuff. The All Blacks to do real basic stuff. Just keep doing it really well. Front squats. Oof, that's again. I'm not sure if these guys are going to get yellow or red cards for that. Sprint work in different directions. And now we're looking at agility work, and again more rotational core, which is definitely something that you can add into your program. Conditioning here. These guys are just doing an upper body circuit, it looks like. Heavy deadlifts or speed deadlifts, which I'm not a huge fan of, but whatever. Weighted pull-ups. Yes, love weighted pull-ups. I love upper body pulling as a real main strength exercise, and it doesn't get enough love. Now we're looking at rucking again, individual skill stuff, and this is something that you need to understand again. And I'm not going to repeat that in the meat and potatoes anymore, but you get the point. Just bog standard bench press, not any amazing weight, but enough. This is decent weight. Back squat from the prop, but even there, right? This is a premiership level prop, 120 kilos, 150 kilos. Squat, and it's work for him. It's not this guy's not a power lifter, right? He's going to put his max. I mean, that's a heavy squat, but to work even more, he would be working the coordination and the specifics of squatting. Whereas when he's working the coordination and specifics, he's looking at scrummaging for that. Lateral raises, again, the return of the one arm bench. Squats. How close are we to the end of this video? This is good. A little bit of passing technique stuff. Not sure if that's overly going to be relevant to helping amateur rugby players. And believe, yeah, that's the end of this video. We've got a minute of this guy saying thanks for watching. I think lots of lessons that you can take from this, right? Number one, the stuff that the professionals do, the vast majority of their stuff is real basic stuff that you can also do, and that isn't sexy and isn't the reason that they're professionals. The next thing is that there is no real secret that has made them professionals, right? They're professionals because they've had an opportunity, for sure, but also because of their genetics. They've already been predisposed, and yes, hard work, of course, but the genetics and talent plays a big factor in, just being able to enter that game. And then, yes, the hard work and everything comes on top of it, but there's nothing fancy about the hard work that they're doing. And then as an amateur, what I want you to figure out from here is, all of that extra fancy stuff is because they have the time, they have the recoverability, they have the capability to do these extra sessions because they're not working other jobs, they're not getting the stresses that come from other jobs. They've got infinitely more time than someone that is working a regular 9 to 5 or going to school or having other concerns. And because of that, they're able to work on these extra things that are refining. You as an amateur are more likely just to be doing nothing but the basic stuff here. And if anything, what you want to be looking at is once you've got past that basic stuff, once you've reached heavy enough strength levels, then you're maintaining that stuff and you're working power or you're working speed, and you're using that time not to say, okay, now I'm no longer an intermediate lifter, or I'm no longer a beginner intermediate lifter. I've reached some decent enough strength targets. Now I need to add more in so that I can keep progressing in the gym. Actually, what you want to be doing is potentially saying, okay, now I'm strong enough. Now all I've got to do is maintain that strength, put that strength on the back burner, and maybe it slowly increases and maybe it doesn't. And now my focus is power, or now my focus is not on actually putting more time in the gym, but actually spending more time on the field and working my aerobic system, or more time on the field working my skills, or working the scrummaging if you're a prop, because that is the stuff that's going to make a huge difference for you as a player. So it's not more is better. Okay, it's getting to a certain point, maintaining those certain points, and then slowly building on top of that, but not by allowing time to help you develop, not by forcing 5-6 plus gym sessions a week. That is not necessary it's not even necessary for professional players, right? So it definitely shouldn't be necessary for you. I hope this video was helpful for you. Like the screen says on B Rugby's training video, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this concept and if you enjoy reaction videos, let me know in the comments below. Let me know if you enjoyed it, but also leave a comment regardless, because the comments do really help out spread this channel. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, and if you're new here, hit subscribe, because we will be doing lots of videos on a weekly basis about all the different ways that you can improve in your strength and conditioning, in your nutrition, to help you perform your best as a healthy, fit, and happy rugby player. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.